I'm Brady Berserker.
I'm Big Sexy Brian Bales.
And I'm Metal Matson from Super Geeky Playdate,
a podcast member of the Gonna Geek Network.
Just like the show you're listening to now.
The opinions expressed are those of each individual host.
Check out all the other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
And get ready, because geekiness begins in
3, 2,
1.
You are listening to the Starling Tribune, a podcast dedicated to the Arrow TV show.
This guy gets more airtime than the Kardashians, right?
This podcast is not produced or maintained by the CW, Warner Brothers Television, CTV, or DC Comics. All characters, situations, and stories are the properties of Time Warner. I am the Oracle, and this is your Tribune.
So I assure you guys, it was playing for me. I don't know why it didn't go out to you. It's been one of those things.
We kind of figured out that it was playing in the background.
Yeah, I'll have to check on that because that doesn't make any sense. But hey, everyone, welcome to Earth 2's favorite newspaper, the Starling Tribune. I'm Chris, and when I'm not screwing up technology, I'm acting as the chief editor this week while SP is out on assignment. But don't worry, there are other reporters here to back me up on this episode 183 of the Starling Tribune, including Michelle.
So predictable. Almost takes the fun out of it.
And we have a returning special guest, Neil.
Wow, you probably should not have been allowed to watch that.
That's probably fair. So this podcast is recorded live on Sunday, January 28th, 2018 on the streaming home of the Gonna Geek Network, geeks.live. Remember, our newspaper is full of spoilers, facts, and speculations about Arrow and the rest of the DC, TV, movie, and comic universe.
And today we'll be discussing Arrow as well as the news, interviews, articles, and announcements that have dropped in the last week and that could impact future episodes of Arrow, as well as The Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, Vixen, and Constantine.
If you're new to the show, thank you for searching us out on the internet and joining us. After the show, you can check out our content at GonnaGeek.com, where you can also find other geeky videos, podcasts, and articles.
Well, thanks, guys. Michelle, why don't you go ahead and break down this current episode for us?
This episode is called We Fall. It's season 6, episode 11. It aired Thursday, January 25th, 2018. Directed by Wendy Stanzler. Has done 8 episodes of Arrow, 1 Glow, 3 Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., 1 Flash, and 1 Gotham, among others. Writer, Speedweed. Has done things, but most notably 12 Arrow and 7 Haven. And Spiro Skentsos, who's done 2 Arrow and 3 Grimm. This is the first team up of this director and 2 writers. Wendy also directed Restoration, which was written by Speedweed.
Interesting. So, first team up. I'm intrigued by that. Well, you guys do know.
Well, and it's
go ahead.
Yeah,
sorry.
it's good to see that they're increasing the writer pool. I don't know about you guys, but I watched Grimm. I was sorry to see her go. So if there's more writing talent available to bring into the Arrow writers room, that's kind of awesome.
Yeah, more talent, always a good thing. But guys, you do know SP from Week to Week likes to run down what the ratings were for all of our shows here in the DC TV universe. Well, SP's not here, so I'm going to try and fill his shoes, try and break down these numbers we saw this week. So starting in on Monday the 22nd, Supergirl brought in a live rating of 2.07 for Fort Ross. On Tuesday, The Flash brought in a live rating of 2.12 for the elongated Night Rises. Tuesday night also, Black Lightning pulled in a 1.94 for Lawanda, The Book of Hope. Now, bear in mind, the Legends average is 1.67, so Black Lightning was this episode 2 or 3? Still trending upwards. And then finally, our last option here, Arrow, coming in with a 1.39 with We Fall, which is the lowest aside from that Thanksgiving dip.
Wow.
That's not good.
I'm surprised the Black Lightning dipped below 2 because the premiere was really strong. I expected it to break 2 million live. That's surprising.
Yeah, but who knows? I mean, there's plenty of time here. And bear in mind, these are all the live ratings, so we have no idea what the DVR ratings or anything like that's going to be.
or on the CW app. So again, there might be a lot of people watching online. So, it'd be nice if we could get all those numbers, but I just don't think they're ever going to give them to us.
No, that's the secret sauce. Much like Netflix never shares ratings. CW is like, we don't need to share our ratings either. As long as it's enough for us to consider it profitable with ads still, this is a success for us. So I think what we can take away here is shows even like Arrow are doing successful enough with DVR ratings and with the app ratings and probably Netflix ratings when it goes there and sales on iTunes, Amazon, things like that they're going to keep doing them. So while the ratings might look scary on paper for some of this, not so bad for them to not want to put the money up to keep making those shows. But that's enough of our theorizing and conjecturing on ratings numbers. We are certainly not TV executives. We're just newspaper writers. Why don't we start getting into this latest episode? Let's break down some of the overall themes. And Michelle, this is where I'm going to defer to you because you're far better at it than I am.
Well, it's called We Fall. And even though they do a whole bunch of stuff that we'll talk about, in the end, Oliver has to pay Cade and James the $10 million. So there's that obvious thing. And then, we're going to talk about Vigilante. And I don't know if We Fall, maybe there's some cracks in the low rent in Justice League. But I think the overall theme is just like Oliver and the team didn't quite, get a touchdown this week.
No.
But at the same point, with last week being called Divided and this week being called We Fall, I expect them to have an even worse week than they did. I expected the team to kind of fall apart, even the two halves of the team really not to coordinate with each other. And while there was some bickering on New Team Arrow, or the whiny Team Arrow, as Michelle has coined, they didn't really fall that bad. So I expected a lot worse.
Yeah, it can certainly get worse, and I wager the way this season's shaping up, it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Oh, of course.
Maybe next week will be called We Fall Some More, or it'll just be called Some More.
We'll find out after we talk about this episode. Now, we like to start with the fights. Now, there's not a lot of actual fights in this episode. I do want to talk about one scene that I think is really cool, and that's when the wannabe heroes goes to the subway station, and Dinah actually stops one of the subway cars with her cry. I thought that was a really cool scene, a really cool stunt effect. That was impressive.
It was really cool, and it was cool because the CW Arrow Twitter account actually had an animated GIF of it after the episode aired that they post on there, and everyone was like, "This is so cool!" And this is coming from me, who generally ignores Twitter when the shows are on because I don't watch them live and don't want to get spoiled. And I went, "I don't even know what this is about, but I must see it soon."
Yeah, no, I thought, and again, thinking about the title, We Fall, I thought this might be one of the places where New Team Arrow, doesn't manage to save it and had a really, really bad day. But wow, let's go Canary. That was pretty badass.
I mean, Dinah is a badass. We've been saying that since before she even suited up, and it's pretty cool to see that reminder that she's that cool. Curtis and Renee are panicking because they can't stop the train. She's kind of like, "Okay, I got this. This is mine."
Another not quite fight scene, but there were some stunts because there was fire, and that's the tunnel. Neil, why don't you take us through what happened in the tunnel?
Yeah, so Caden James and the rest of the new Injustice League were busy closing off all the major arteries in and out of the city. And wouldn't you know it, William is getting out of the city on the final tunnel out of the city. Now, I think this tunnel has been used a few times before. I think at the end of, was it season 3 or was it 2, where we had the League and Deathstroke's Mirakuru soldiers and lots of fighting. And it was pretty cool. So bad things happen in this tunnel. That being said, it when it's the only way in and out and William's on a bus, bad things are going to happen. Sure enough, everything got blocked off. Everything got jammed up. Caden James starts blowing all the gas mains. Lots of fire. The best placed falling street sign ever to trap William behind it. Well, maybe that's why it's called We Fall, because we fall perfectly down to block William. And again, there is a long Arrow tradition of people being blocked behind things. I think Laurel was the first one blocked behind something, and didn't she have to use Ollie's bow right in the beginning? Was it season 1 or season 2?
2, I think.
Anyways,
She
it
had to fire
reminded me
the
of a really
explosive
early
arrow.
season. But yeah, it was Spartan and Green Arrow rescuing people, and for all the bad rap that vigilantes have gotten in Star City recently, this was really good to see, and I think it's going to go a long way to getting the public back on the side of the mayor and the Green Arrow, especially if the FBI investigation continues its course.
All right, let's be honest. This FBI investigation's a joke at this point. If we've seen nothing, I mean, let's be honest. The Green Arrow's in a tunnel and saves Oliver Queen's son, who then disappears with the Green Arrow, and the FBI's like, oh, nothing's going on here. The city's being assaulted by a weaponized hacker. Well, we're not here to investigate that. We're only here to investigate Oliver Queen. But we don't show up anywhere. These guys are taking their coffee break for a long time.
Yeah, that's, hey, look at this plot. Now, don't look at it because we're going to forget about it for like 2 months.
I mean, maybe they got caught up in the government shutdown like a bunch of other folks did. This could be the FBI is shut down so they can't investigate Oliver Queen. I don't know.
Yeah, or as was reported, it was basically a weekend. It was shut down over a weekend, so it was a weekend.
Yeah.
But it's also interesting. This was a really neat parallel this week to Black Lightning, and probably intentional, because at a school assembly, Black Lightning got called out for only saving, the principal, which is Black Lightning, spoiler alert, only having his kids saved from this gang facility. So it's really interesting. At least on Black Lightning, they call it out when only the main character's kids are the ones who are saved. Not so much with William on this one.
I have to admit, though, William really went into action, because even though he's getting bullied on the bus, when things start to happen, he's like, all right, everybody, calm down. We're going to get out of here. Oh, we can't go this way. Oh, here, I'm going to kick the emergency door, and stuff. And now everybody come out, and even got the bully to convince him. It's like, go. And it was like, well, that's Oliver's son.
Oh, yeah. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree here.
Nope.
And the main fight was filmed in an interesting way, because we actually don't stick with the fight. We see the fight, and narrating or commenting on it is Felicity, because William now knows that Daddy has lied for the month, and he's in the Arrow Cave, and he's like, my dad, blah, blah, blah. And Felicity, being the stepmom in training, she decides to show William what Dad does. And while she's talking to him, we cut to the fight. Chris, what did you think of that technique?
It was something fresh that we hadn't seen on this show in a while. So I kind of liked the fact that we had this cool cut back and forth. The slow motion, at first I was like, I don't quite get it. But then it kind of worked on me, and I kind of liked the voiceover as they cut between scenes. So honestly, something fresh, something new, I'm totally cool with it.
Yeah, I have to agree, Chris. And Michelle, thanks for calling that out. It was a new mechanic. And, normally when we have a big group fight scene, we get caught up in the action. But I think this was really cool because you were listening to Felicity. It gave you some distance from the fight scene, but it put everything in perspective at the same time. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, because she was saying that, yes, this is dangerous, but look what they can do. They're the only ones that can do this. And yes, I'm worried, but it's worth it. We have to be here to support them so they can be the heroes that they can be. Now, and I thought it was really interesting, Felicity is actually predicting what Oliver is going to do. But this is also where Neil's quote comes from. Oh, maybe I should not have let you see that, because, well, Neil, why did you pick that quote for this week?
because Felicity was narrating, just as you said. She is playing or sitting in the Overwatch seat, giving William the play-by-play, and she knows his moves. She knows what's going to happen. Look, he's going to spin around and whack, and it was almost point blank shot to a guy. I'm going to say his shoulder, because that's kind of what he does now, to a bad guy that was on the ground to pin him to the ground. And it was brutal. Now, yes, it's a reality of what Ollie is doing in the field. And again, remember, he's using broadheads. He's not using a boxing glove arrow, so he is hurting people. But at the same point, I think it's the reality of the scene. Yeah, I enjoyed it. And that little bit of humor did drive the scene, how important, and broke some of the tension near the end of it. There were some great points in that. Not only the scene that you've called out, Michelle, where Overwatch knows what's going on instinctively, but when members of new Team Arrow, old Team Arrow, and especially Vigilante are covering each other, it was pretty interesting. And yeah, when Vigilante killed Shek, it was like, wow. I thought he was going to get outed, get his cover blown, but nope, he wasn't. So
one heck of a way to protect your cover.
Yes, it is. So I would like to actually, because this episode revolves around Caden James's plan, we have discussed how this plan seems to be complicated. And for those of you who may have missed the earlier episodes of this season, in an earlier episode, Caden James basically threatens the internet. And this is when we learn that the internet is also housed in Star City. And basically, Caden James tricks Felicity into bringing down the wall so Caden James can implant a virus. And now this virus has been activated, giving Caden James the control of the city. And Caden tells Oliver that you got to pay me $10 million a day until I say stop. And I'm doing this because you killed my son, but not directly. You missed your target and it hit somebody else. But because that happened, I'm coming up with this multi-step convoluted plan, which I am enacting today, even though Anatoly, Richard Diaz, and Black Siren have the day off. Now, Neil, I know you have a very deep comic book knowledge. What do you think about all this?
Well, when you put it like that, Michelle,
you might have poisoned the well a little bit here.
No, serious. Michelle is with you. I'm like, yeah. Oh, yeah, they did it. Oh, you're right. Well, that doesn't sound very smart. No, it is insanely convoluted. I think Slade had a much better way of burning down the city when I'm just going to get all these people roided up under Brother Blood, and they're just going to break stuff. They're going to break stuff everywhere. Very, very simple. We're going to blow things up. Caden's a bit more complicated, and I think part of it is he's showing off. He's showing off to his hench people. Again, Michelle, your quote, "Oh, it almost takes the fun out of it." He's busy showing off how smart he is by moving all the chess pieces around the board. So I think part of how convoluted and complex the plan is just a reflection of who he is and what he's doing. Now, ultimately, I think there's too many moving parts. He's going to lose, because of that at the end of the day, and because of the age-old trope that you can never get this many bad guys to work together. Something will go wrong with that many bad guys. But again, you need that because Team Arrow has gotten so large with new Team Arrow, OTA. You needed this big a team. But yeah, it's going to be his downfall.
And you brought up the team names. I really wish they'd gone with outsiders, I'll be honest.
Oh, totally.
Just completely different aside. But yeah, Caden James' plan is overly complicated. But remember, Caden James is not necessarily thinking rationally at all times. Yes, he's a smart dude, but everything he wants to do is figure out the best way to hurt Oliver Queen, because this is the man that in his mind killed his son. So I don't think it matters to him how complex it is, as long as the whole process of it hurts Ollie.
Actually, you know what? Having just thought through all this while you're talking there, Chris and Michelle, I hope it's like an original Die Hard, where at the end of the day, it is one just big heist in the background. It was never about Star City, never about his son. It was just moving all the pieces around, and then he robs everybody blind and just disappears.
Be awesome.
Oh, that would be kind of awesome. Now, someone who surprisingly wants to stop Caden James, or has claimed to want to stop him, is Vince, aka Vigilante. And he ends up contacting Curtis. And I forgot about that with the T-Spheres.
I thought it was a great callback. When it wasn't in the front of my mind. I remember there'd been T-Sphere stuff. Caden James had stolen one. And at one point in time, they'd tried to track Vigilante. Wasn't that last season they did that?
I think so.
I think so too. So I sort of remember it in the back of my head that there'd been T-Spheres and Vigilante, something about that. And when the message started coming in, I didn't make the connection at first until I went, oh yeah, about the same time they went, oh wait, Vigilante. So I thought it was a great callback. I just wish I had caught it at first.
Curtis decides to, well, they think, oh, we're going to trap Vigilante because, we've been at this at a year. And so, of course, we really know how to outmaneuver bad guys, but they don't. And Vigilante meets Curtis and tells him information. And then Curtis acts on it in a way that ends up upsetting the other two. Correct, Neil?
Yeah, and this is one of the scenes that you're watching in slow-mo. It's like those final minutes before a car crash. You're like, yeah, we hate original Team Arrow because they're telling secrets and not being truthful. And that was literally last episode. Like, it was a week ago where they fractured the entire team because of all this. And a week later, Mr. Terrific, Curtis, is doing the exact same thing. This is like, oh, oh no, here we go. Now, could they have played the fallout a bit longer? Could they have made this a bit bigger of an issue? And should it have been? I would argue yes. But again, I think you've got three heroes that are trying to keep it together. They're new, and they were willing to overlook this because I think they're grasping at trying to keep this new team together to find something to bond. And at the end of the day, I think they moved past it. Now the question is, can they reconcile with original Team Arrow? And that remains to be seen.
So I think inevitably Curtis's believing of Vince and basically setting up everything so they sort of work together is not necessarily going to hurt them now. And there's not going to necessarily be a fracture in the team now. Wait a few episodes from now when Vince inevitably betrays them or does something that they don't want him to do, be it kill a witness or something that they need to do something, and then it's going to bring those seeds of mistrust back again. I don't know if they necessarily resolved the issue of Curtis kind of taking it on his own to be Oliver and make an executive decision, not fill people in. I think they just kind of buried it a little bit. And it's the same thing we've seen in original Team Arrow is you move on past something, then it comes to bite you in the butt, and then it gets dug out again and thrown back in your face, and there's arguments and stuff. I hope it's not the case, but I kind of see it going that way just because that's what we've seen before.
Yeah, and we learned that these three operate on consensus because Curtis and Renee want to work with Vigilante right away, and Dinah's like, nope. And then they get together, and then they do like the whole pro-con list.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
My only issue with that is you're potentially going to get a lot of indecision. And listen, there's a reason that police and military and special forces have evolved a rank structure. It's because in these high tension situations where snap decision has to be made and executed, there isn't time to sit around and draw consensus out. So I think that may actually bite them in the tushy later in the season as well.
I think you're right. They haven't run into a point since they split off from OTA where they've had to make that snap decision and don't have time to assemble a quorum and make sure that everyone agrees. And like Neil said, when you're in the field, it's a matter of life and death. Eventually, someone's going to have to take up that mantle of, okay, when we're out here, I have operational command or something like that, which is whether you like it or not. That's what Oliver did in the field. He had command over everything. Everything went through him. So if it all went well, that's great. If it all failed, it's because he made the wrong call, not because they sat around going, well, you three don't want to do this, but two of us do, and he's undecided. We need to figure this out before we stop this bank robbery, which is, of course, an over-exaggeration, but kind of fair.
Legends went through that last season as well, when you had Stein trying to lead the team, and they realized very quickly they needed Sarah Lance to run that team. They needed somebody with command and control in the field that can make instantaneous decisions and direct resources. So Legends have figured this one out. OTA has figured this one out. Let's see if WTA actually figures this one out.
Yeah.
So we had Mayor, Queen, and Speedy and Quentin have to help the populace. And poor Quentin, because Pike is dead. And so rip Pike, because somebody was stupid and they touched the elevator.
I forgot who he was.
I guess that's probably why he was brought on.
That's why he was expendable, because honestly, if there's a lot of people like me who are just like, he looks vaguely familiar, I think I should know him from somewhere, it's probably easy to get rid of him.
I am seriously still surprised that people are willing to work with Star City PD. Like, short life expectancy, especially at the top of the ranks. Listen, just move to anywhere. Ivy Town PD. That's where you would find me.
Look, they must have a great benefits package or something. That's all I can figure.
Hey, but Mayor Queen looked into that TV camera and said, Star City has faced worse. Star City will band together and we will rise. Basically.
Well, he also said Star City won't negotiate or pay terrorists, but
well,
yeah, that didn't work out so well.
Was it Star City that paid, or was it Oliver Queen, who's supposedly broke, that found $10 million to pay off Cade and James for the first day? That's what I'm not sure. Are we going to have some plot thread that the FBI is going to dig out that Mayor Queen embezzled Star City funds to pay off Cade and James, or is this just that some of his couch cushion money accounts to $10 million?
Yeah, remember, he's billionaire broke.
Yeah,
he's only worth tens of millions.
I wish I was billionaire broke.
He's not regular broke. No, we're not billionaire broke.
Or was it Thea?
Well, would she have inherited Malcolm's money?
Yes.
Well, was Malcolm already dead or not in the eyes of the law? That's where we start to get into shady territory. Has he been undeclared dead from season 1 to then be declared dead again so that she would inherit his stuff?
I'm going to say she's the rich one, and she only works so she doesn't be bored all day.
Well, that's true. I mean, she is paying for Oliver's apartment.
Right.
Well, Malcolm was paying for it, which means Thea's probably paying for it because she's got all Malcolm's money. And I have no idea where they get their money in this show. I'm just going to assume that it's someone whose last name is Queen had the money for that to be paid for. It did not come out of city funds to pay off a terrorist.
Yeah, to give them a day or two.
I think it was a daily thing.
Yeah. Now think about this. I mean, the next episode is a week later. Are they going to have paid this 7 times by the next time we catch back up with our heroes?
Or does the next episode take place the next day?
There's that flexible arrow timeline. I guess we'll just have to wait and find out for the next episode because who knows on some of it.
Oh.
Now, Felicity mentioned that they are reaching maximum level of domesticity, being domestic. And we see Felicity be a stepmom, and then there's that whole conversation with William. And I want to talk about William because one of my favorite moments was at the end, and where he is like, you know what, Dad, I'm okay now because I've got Felicity. I don't have children, but I mean, I've been through my own stuff in my own life, and I'm not well adjusted. So I'm trying to figure out how on earth is this kid not royally messed up?
He must be on some wicked antidepressants or something. I mean, I have no idea how he becomes so accepting of things, and then to be like, oh yeah, I'm okay that you continue being a superhero and will probably die because I've got this woman who's my stepmom that you never talked to me about before you got married, who's now part of our life and all of these things. And that relationship moved from like 0 to 60 in like half a second, it seems like to me. Literally,
to boil it down, William's final comment was, "Hey, Dad, if you die, it's cool."
Yeah, that's basically what it was.
Yeah. Because he's like, I got Felicity, and he also has Reza. And I mean, look, even at the beginning, William was like, hey, I got my homework. Oh, no, Dad, I don't need you to check it. I need Felicity to check it because it's about math. And I don't even know if you know how to spell math, Dad. So I got my stepmom to take care of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have kids, and I don't have kids to then bring a stepmom into the picture, but I can't imagine that it's just solved like that as soon as you create a new family unit out of different people. I don't know. Like I said, it just seems really fast to me. Granted, it's been like 6 weeks since they got married now, technically 7. Still, it's a heck of a transition. And okay, I'm going to sound like I'm complaining because I am a little bit here. I feel like logic often gets sacrificed at the altar of the relationships in this show, and this is one of those cases again.
The only thing, and again, Chris and Michelle, I'm with you guys. I don't have kids, and but the only thing I could see from a justification is that, remember, he was raised by his mom. He has always had a strong maternal figure there. He's learned to never have that reliance upon a dad. If you consider that maybe his mom dated, but there was nobody in the picture when Ollie finally came back in, that's where he finds his security and his comfort. He's never had the paternal figure. So bringing a strong maternal figure, especially one that he can identify with, who, remember, they talked about AP Math at the beginning of this episode as well. It's put him back in his comfort zone. Now, again, I don't think that justifies how quickly everything moved, but it could be used to kind of soften how harsh a transition we had here.
Yeah, because it's just 6 months ago his mom died. I mean, I know you need to heal, but I don't know. Intense therapy?
I mean, he is half queen. They're really good at repressing things.
That's true.
I mean, that's the only thing I got going for me. They repress things until they bottle up and then become superheroes and kick a lot of butt in the streets. So maybe he's going to be Speedy version 2 at some point in time. God, I hope I'm wrong. Oh, Robin. Just don't make him the Jason Todd Robin. That's all.
Oh my goodness.
Well, he does have a connection kind of to the League. He might turn into Damian. He'll get really bitter and angry, and he'll be Damian.
There you go. We'll go that route.
Oh, that's awesome.
Or we'll find out that Nyssa had a kid that she's been raising in secret, and then he'll have like a half brother who'll be a badass, or a sister. Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. One thing I would like to bring up is it seems as though the evidence that Caden James got was from, first off, Corto Maltese, which we have heard of that place several times. And it came in a little package, and Caden James opens it and believes it. Now, who do we think is trying to set this bad guy against Oliver? because I feel like there's a video game thing happening here where you beat the boss, but then you find out there's another boss. So who do we think the other boss could be?
The only thing I had in my notes is this one last giant FU from Prometheus. That he put in a few things in play that, assuming his end game failed, Oliver Queen was hosed. That's the only thing I had in my notes. I'm really curious if you guys have any other thoughts that are probably better than mine.
Well, also remember that Corto Maltese is where Malcolm was training Thea, and that's where he had his secret lair.
Good call.
So Malcolm has a strong connection. I was thinking it could be one final FU from Malcolm, but that would be at odds at how he gave his life and how things ended on Lian Yu. But the connection is stronger for Malcolm.
And then I was maybe thinking Talia Al Ghul. I'm going to assume that she's also alive. We're going to find out something about Nissa in the news. So if she's alive, she's still upset at Oliver because of the whole dad thing. You know, you killed my dad, so I'm going to help this guy kill you. Maybe she's like, well, this Prometheus guy is like, I trained him to kill Oliver. Well, so now I'm going to get this guy to kill Oliver because for some reason she's not doing it herself. I don't know. It's kind of interesting to like try to figure this out, because that took me by surprise that the evidence seems to be fake.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a slow burn reveal to see who's behind that. I wager we don't find out for at least, what do you want to say? Put the over under at 4.5 episodes, and I'll take the over.
Yeah, I was thinking 4, so I'll take slightly under 4.5.
Ooh.
I'm going to say, well, this is what, episode 11. We've got 12 more to go, so we're going to have a good I'm going to say probably 5 episodes.
So 2 overs and an under, but we're all pretty much thinking it's right around that 4 mark, though. So I think we're all on the same track.
Yeah,
here.
Because I think they're going to need the last 6 episodes to bring everything home and to beat all the bad guys.
Now, we just made this guess, and it's probably going to be next week they reveal it, just to spite us, I'm guessing.
They have always gone a lot faster with stories than I've ever thought. So, yeah, watch it be next week.
That's a good point. We'll see what happens, I guess. You listeners, feel free. Place your bets. Are you over or under the 4.5 mark for this reveal? And let us know by tweeting at Starling Tribune.
So before we move on, any last thoughts about the episode? Neil?
Again, I really like the whole Outsiders bit. I really wish they had gone through that. But yeah, well, let's wait and see what they call themselves. Maybe the Justice Society.
Chris?
So I was really glad they touched on something I was afraid was going to get buried. The fact that John Diggle's arm is fixed. Oh, here's a new Spartan suit for you. Enjoy that. And then him being like, I was kind of hoping to go back to being the Green Arrow. So the real question is, does Dig get to be the Green Arrow again, or is his consolation prize a brand new red Spartan suit with a slightly more lit up helmet?
Oh, that's true. And, well, Mr. Sheck, we really didn't know who you were, so I'm sorry, but we're really not going to miss you. All right.
Adios, man.
So next week, episode 12 of season 6 is called All for Nothing. It will air Thursday, February 1st, 2018. Oliver continues to battle Caden James. When Dinah and Oliver have a major disagreement, one of their own is put in danger. Director, Marzi Almas. Writers, Oscar Balderrama and Beth Schwartz.
It's all starting to speed up, guys. We got a lot of stuff happening. But we're getting to that point of the show. We found out what's happening next week. Now it's time for us to start breaking down some of the news. So for that, we're going to head over to the Starling Tribune newsroom. So to kick us off, this news has me real excited. I'm real glad we're going to talk about this, Neil. what's this I hear that Katrina Law might be coming back to Arrow? Please tell me it's true. Please tell me it's true.
It is true. Executive producers Wendy Miracle and Mark Guggenheim said in an interview this week, in an unforgettable episode that will change Arrow forever, Katrina Law returns as the daughter of the demon, Nisa Al Ghul. Nisa comes to Star City to warn of an impending danger that will threaten everything and everyone we know and love. So again, I'm betting, and we don't know if this is over or under 4 episodes, but maybe this is Talia. Maybe this is the return of the League. And listen, I am super excited for this. I am a big Nisa fan, and just to prove it, here we go. The custom Funko Pop with a hand sculpted scimitar, and I am a huge fan of Nissa. Nice. I really want her to come back. I just don't want them to kill her, and that's what I'm worried about. If you're gonna change the Arrowverse forever, just don't change it by getting rid of her. Now, also they may be changing it by throwing Daddy Dearest back in another Lazarus pit. Maybe what's changing this is the full return of the League of Assassins. I don't know, but I am so excited that Katrina Law is coming back to Arrow.
Me too. And then you teased the fact we might get Talia also. And I'm like, both the Al Ghul sisters? This will be so much fun when they fight.
Yeah, the biggest thing is that warning of the impending danger. So she must know who the bigger boss is. Maybe?
That's possible. And if it's Daddy Dearest, like Neil had theorized, this could get really interesting. Anyone know what Matt Nable's up to right now?
No, I don't.
Nope.
We might have to check on that and follow up on that next week. But let's move off that thread for a while. We talked about it a little bit at the top of the show. Michelle, what's this I hear about the reason for why the Arrow ratings might have fallen?
Yeah, I came across this article, and it's about numbers and ratings, and I didn't want to disappoint our chief editor, SP, and not talk about some numbers. And even though we talk about like the Netflix deal and the app views, one of the interesting things about Arrow is that it is on at a time that is really packed. It is on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. It is opposite of ABC's Scandal, which is drawing in over 5 million viewers a week. And that's in its last season. So a lot of people are tuning in and such. NBC has Will and Grace and the other comedy Great News. Okay. CBS airs, I think that's their comedy block. So that's their CBS. And also Project Runway All Stars is at 9 p.m. as well. And Thursday night is really packed because and it's also at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. is tough. It's Supernatural. It's Gotham. It's The Good Place. It's so bad that, so like the DVR is like done. Like Thursday night at 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. is like packed. We can't record anything else. And that's probably one of the reasons why it's just, a lot of people are like, well, I got all these other things to watch. It's on an app. It's on Netflix. Maybe I don't like the story anymore, so it's low on the priority. But yeah, it's in a no-win time slot.
Yeah, and that was one of the worries we had when this moved, is that Thursday nights, it's not an easy place to be.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, it is. Hopefully, it just means, like we were theorizing earlier, it means app and Netflix numbers and things like that are strong enough that that's why they keep moving things forward. But we do know the CW has an absolute boatload of superhero shows on the network, and they've done a good job of limiting it so we don't get them all at once. So, Neil, why don't you explain to me why the CW is not going to air more than 4 superhero shows at any given time?
Well, we've just finished talking about some of the ratings and some of the dips, and I think the CW sees what's going on, not only with their superhero shows, but we've got all the mutant shows on right now. We've got Cloak and Dagger coming. We've got the Superman prequel series coming. We've got Gotham over at Fox. We still have Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. There are a ton of superhero shows on TV, and expanded beyond that. We've got iZombie coming back. We've got Lucifer still on. Just a whole ton of comic book properties. The CW is being cautious, and they've said they're going to limit it to 4 at a time. And, you know, the head of programming has said the audience will let you know when fatigue has set in. But if you have a quality show or a fun show, the audience will stay with it. But that being said, yeah, 4 is what you're going to get on the CW at a time.
Makes sense. My only bummer is it seems like Legends was sacrificed to allow those 4 to go right now, and it's probably my favorite of the CW superhero shows right now.
Me too.
But don't worry, guys. It'll be back soon. And speaking of Legends tomorrow, as we transition into our general DC news, who's boarding the Wave Rider in these new set photos we've seen, Michelle?
Oh, Constantine. Oh, played by Matt Ryan. Yeah, I put a link in the show notes to an article where there's photos of Constantine with, with Citizen Cold and the other crew members. He's got the trench coat, the loose tie. He's amazing. He looks great. I miss him. # bring back Constantine.
And he's one of the few characters you get to see smoke on TV still.
Yeah, Constantine has to smoke. He has to drink. That is part of his character.
I'm just happy he's back, even if it's only a 2-episode arc. I'll take it.
Me too.
And finally, let's wrap up the news. Neil, what's this I hear about Stephen Amell's new F-Cancer campaign? What can you tell us about that?
Well, every year, Stephen Amell, for the last 4 years, has done a Represent campaign. He's been passionate about raising money for cancer research. He's sold T-shirts directly on his winery's website, Knocking Point. So this week, he just announced his newest F-Cancer campaign. So if you go to represent.com and search for Stephen Amell, he's got new T-shirts, new hoodies. You can see I'm wearing, I think, last year's F-Cancer hoodie in dark green, of course.
Is there any other option?
If you want to add to your geek T-shirt or hoodie collection and give money to a good cause while you're at it, check out represent.com and show some love to this year's Stephen Amell campaign.
And so as we go on to represent.com/Stephen Amell, it is available for, as we record this, another 12 days, 8 hours, and 9 minutes. Everything will start shipping on February 26th, and they have sold 2,578 items for this campaign right now. So go and check it out. You too can help contribute to his campaign to say F-Cancer, much like many others have. All right, so guys, I think that is going to start wrapping us up. But before we shut down our news this week, okay, hold. Admin, hold. Did you have a news story there, Neil, or am I blowing?
I did. Sorry, I wanted to add this. It's been a while since we've had DC comic and toy news. But this week, if you've been following the DC Rebirth series of Green Arrow, we found out that writer Benjamin Percy and artists who have been doing pencils, colors, and inks, Otto Schmidt and Juan Ferreira, are transitioning off at the end of issue 38. For Benjamin Percy, because he started in the New 52 era prior to Rebirth, this will make 52 episodes or issues of the Green Arrow comic that he's been writing. It has been a fantastic run. They're at 36 right now. There's 2 issues left to wrap up this epic arc that Benjamin Percy has been taking us on. So if you're interested in checking it out, 2 more issues to go. Dollars to Donuts, there's going to be an omnibus of the Ninth Circle arc, but definitely check it out. And to Juan Ferreira, Otto Schmidt, and Benjamin Percy. You guys have done one hell of a job on this comic. It has been one of the bright spots of Rebirth. And guys, take a bow. You've done a hell of a job.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Neil. We've missed your resident comic and toy aficionado news stories because I'm not nearly as spun up on the toy aspect of things lately as I should be. For shame. For shame, I say. But guys, as we wrap up, a friendly reminder that the Starling Tribune is in fact part of a network of shows that you can find over at GonnaGeek.com. There's 23 plus, probably closer to 25, 26 shows on the network now that cover a variety of different geeky and nerdy topics. Some of them are very narrowly focused like ourselves. We just talk about the Arrow TV show and the universe surrounding it. And then you have other shows that are much broader and talk about general geek culture and a variety of other topics. But each week we try to give you guys just one taste of another show that's in the network so that maybe you'll want to go check that out. So this week I want to talk to you guys about the podcast Just One More Fix, episode 69, entitled Broke Gaming. For new GM month, Lacey and James try to lower the barrier to entry to try tabletop RPGs. If you don't have a lot of disposable income or you don't want to invest a lot of money in a new hobby, we are here to help. And as someone who's gotten into tabletop gaming off and on in life, I'm pretty intrigued by this. We have to go check it out because, you know, I'm always keen to try out some more games if I don't have to break the bank to do it first. I don't know about you guys. Well, guys, I think that is going to wrap up this week's installment for the Starling Tribune. A big thank you to everyone who did participate live and chat in the Geeks.live chat room. Also, thank you to everyone who downloads the podcast and video at a later date. Don't forget, you can download the podcast at starlingtribune.com, listen on Spreaker, or catch the video replays on youtube.com/GonnaGeek.
And remember, you can always catch us live as we record at www.geeks.live at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific on Sundays. Also, you can find our past shows on the Gonna Geek Network at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
We would love to hear from you. We are the Starling Tribune on Facebook and Instagram, at Starling Tribune on Twitter, and you can call us at 612-888-CAVE. That's 612-888-2283. Neil, it was great having you on again, so thank you.
My pleasure to be back, guys, and thanks for having me. It's the mic is still warm, and I was so happy to be able to fill in for SP for a couple of weeks.
Well, we'll have to throw him out again so he can come back. I mean, no, we miss you, SP.
So Neil, we do have a couple of minutes. With the other shows, like Flash, Supergirl, Black Lightning, Legends, what's been your favorite so far? Some highlights?
Highlights this year for me, I think, has been Legends. I just think to be able to sit back, catch up with some zany time travel with crew members that don't always get along well. There's been some high points and low points with Firestorm transitioning in and out, but overall it's just so fun, and you never know where that show is going. And the fact that we've got Constantine coming onto the Wave Rider, sign me up. I think I'm right there with you, Michelle. So yeah, that's been my high point, is just sitting back and watching Legends when I have the time.
I think we're all on the same page there. It's so much fun.
I know. Well, this brings us to the end of another great episode. Any last words before we sign off? At the Chris Farrell.
Hashtag, if you die, it's cool.
At Neil Isn't Witty.
Hashtag step mom in training.
And I am at Michelle Ely, signing off with hashtag Thea's got the dough. Oracle, I think we're done here.
This was the Starling Tribune. You can leave us feedback at GonnaGeek.com or check out our archive at StarlingTribune.com. Visit GonnaGeek.com for more podcasts. Music by Kevin MacLeod can be found at Incompetech.com. This podcast is not produced or maintained by the CW, Warner Brothers Television, CTV, or DC Comics. All characters, stories, and situations are the property of Time Warner. No infringement is intended. We will see you for the next episode of CW's Arrow.